welcome back to the show. Oh, we're talking about weddings. In fact, we did a show once on why buying a house is like planning a wedding and just all the ins and outs of buying a house and all the ins and outs of a wedding. But just like a house, a wedding sometimes doesn't quite go as planned, which is why you have somebody like Paul Pukis, a capital asset protection advisor with Mosaic Insurance Alliance. Welcome back, Paul. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Great to see you again.
Good to see you. Does it just bring back memories of your wedding, talking about weddings?
Well, when they were talking about it earlier, it actually reminded me when you said that 33% of engagements, I think, or proposals perhaps happen now. Well, Christmas Day is when I proposed to my wife because she was around her family, and I wanted that to be a family event.
And then you get like a dual gift out of it.
Sure.
No, that's just the way I think, right?
Well, my wife has a dual gift because we were, personal story, because of the military, we got married at the courthouse steps in Dam Neck, Virginia.
Really? Dam Neck?
That's where it is. But I had to promise my wife that we had the ceremony following that. Now, as a new husband, I did not realize that what I had just done is guaranteed my wife 2 anniversary dates, which then comes with 2 anniversary gifts for the rest of our time together. So I want to share that with everyone. If you're going to do what I did, recommendation is to do the ceremony on the same date as your elopement so that everything lines up.
That, my friend, is good advice. So, Paul, weddings, well, as you found out, the anniversary sometimes comes along more than you originally anticipated. Hey, that gives you 2 dates to forget about.
That's right.
But, sometimes the wedding itself doesn't really go as planned. And you talked about wedding insurance and being in the insurance agency industry, of course. That's why you're here.
Yeah, and we get some questions on a regular basis. We get referrals from venues that are requiring liability insurance. So, Ben, you mentioned if things just don't quite go the way you planned, but there's also requirements just to have the wedding. If you want to have the event, there's going to be requirements by the company that's providing the venue. And so you start at the very basic, which is liability coverage, and that provides liability for anything that might go wrong.
Like your crazy friends who,
crazy friends. Now, you can add liquor liability to that, which is recommended because that's typically why the friends get crazy to begin with. And then you can go and you can build a wedding protection plan as much as you want. You can cover gifts that might get damaged. You can cover a flaky photographer or someone who's making the cake if they don't do it on time. There's coverage for that. There's coverage for friends and family who have to fly in from out of state to cover their airplane tickets if something just changes that's out of the norm. So there's all kinds of things that you can build into a policy that covers that special day to make sure that when it's expensive, it doesn't get more expensive.
What about being stood up at the altar?
You can have coverage for postponement and cancellations. And I don't know, I don't have the policy in front of me to read how that would be specifically worded, but if something changes dramatically, there's coverage, like being stood up at the altar.
Okay. Which is technically, in insurance terms, a cancellation, right?
A cancellation. So however we term that to make sure that coverage is provided. But let me put the disclaimer, please review or refer to the policy. Don't take my word right now on how that's going to be covered.
So when you start looking at all these different things, we just talked about the average cost being about $27,000. These are big dollar items. I mean, oftentimes it's maybe more expensive than the car you're driving. Yeah. It seems like it would be something that could go wrong.
Yeah. Well, there's all kinds of stuff. I mean, take a look at different websites. I'm sure go to the website that we were just talking about now or just before.
Adori.
At Adori, and they could probably point you in the direction of wedding disasters. I know that a big company out there that provides insurance for weddings is Travelers Insurance, and you can go to their website. I think it's My Wedding Planner or myweddinginsurance.com or something like that. And you can look at all of the different scenarios of things that have gone wrong.
I bet that's
I mean, what happens
for lack of a better
in
term.
this area, the person delivering your cake has to stop suddenly, cake slides forward, falls, you don't have a cake anymore. You can have a protection plan in place to go and pay top dollar to get someone make you a rush cake. So that's the type of coverage that's available, and that's something that happens. You know, you hope it doesn't happen very often, but I know it has.
Yeah, you're probably going to Safeway at that point in time and grabbing a couple white ones, stacking them on top of each other, and calling it good.
Perhaps.
But so we're here with Paul Pukis with Mosaic Insurance Alliance. Paul, so okay, let's think. You know, once somebody does get married, assuming everything goes well, and you know
they all do.
They all do, as most of them do. You know, there are horror stories. But then you have this time when people are starting to not just join their lives, but they're joining their finances, and insurance is one of those pieces.
Yeah, it sure is. It's one of those things where if you're not looking to combine policies or accounts, you're missing out on huge savings. There's multi-policy discounts. There's multi-car discounts. There's the opportunity to take the better credit of whichever spouse happens to be in a better credit situation. And that can be a huge money-saving opportunity for folks that recently got married.
And, I mean, you know, especially with coming from this $27,000 average, just starting to save money on things like car insurance, things you're paying for anyways, is a great place to start to maybe pay off those credit cards.
Add it to the credit card payment.
Or rebuild the nest egg that
they'll start working on now together.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And you can look at that, combining accounts before the wedding actually takes place, depending on your situation. So I would encourage folks to, you know, once the engagement, I would say, is done, that there are companies out there that will allow you to combine policies at that point. So take advantage of that savings right away.
Do you think that, you know, I guess you go through the wedding, and sometimes it's tough to just remember these pieces, such as, you know, combining insurance. Sometimes, you know, I know with the way that my wife and I do finance is probably different than the way other people do. Some people want separate accounts. Some people want joint accounts. Some people want joint accounts and separate accounts. Insurance doesn't really seem like the thing where you need separate accounts. It would just cost more money. Or would there be a reason that you wouldn't want to join them?
Well, the only reason that I can think of is if one spouse had significantly poor driving record and it just didn't make sense to put both of them together because the policies might then get uprated to meet the level of that other spouse. But technically, you're in the same household together. You're now husband and wife. You're supposed to be on the same policy. That's the way the insurance companies want to see it. But there's different ways that can be approached. So that would be the only thing. But in general, no, you're actually losing coverage, which we don't need to get in the details here. But if you keep separate policies, you're actually could have gaps in your protection at home than if you were on the same policy.
When you're looking at the policies, you know, you might have one from, I don't know, Allstate and one from Farmers, for lack of anything else. And you start looking at these, when you talk about losing coverage, I mean, if you have the same coverage, you could just it could just be less expensive essentially by joining them. Is that?
Yeah, and it might make sense. I mean, there are companies out there, and that's the value, I think, of working with an independent insurance broker that can take a look at different things, is you may be great on your own with company A, but now with your spouse, you're better with company B because of the combined account. Each company is very different.
And then being able to put those into play and understand which company is good for which maybe scenario is something you can't do necessarily by just going to some of the online sites.
Right. Yeah, you're not going to know. You're not an insurance. Well, if you are an insurance expert and you're getting married, well, then you can take care of this on your own.
That's
but
right.
If you're not, I encourage you to contact someone that is.
You could also insure that cake on your own.
You could.
If you wanted to, I suppose.
That's right. You could self-insure that cake.
Self-insure that cake. We're with Paul Pukis with Mosaic Insurance Alliance. Paul, we just have about a minute left before we have to go to break. You know, when we talk about maybe combining auto policies, but there's other policies, I guess, that could be combined, or does it just make sense to tie everything into one, whether as you're getting married in that transition?
Well, typically the answer is yes. I mean, let's say the spouses are bringing that each had their own home, and now they're going to move in with one place. Well, you can make that other property typically less expensive from an insurance standpoint if it's a secondary home, or maybe you need to change it into a landlord policy because you'll be renting out that other home to help pay off the credit card debt that you got from the wedding. So you've got to have that conversation with someone that can put all the pieces together on a comprehensive plan that looks at all the new moving parts that's now in your life.
Well, yeah, more than just, I guess, who's paying the bills and whatnot. So many things change financially when you go into a relationship like a marriage, and understanding the insurance piece of that is key. Paul, thanks so much for joining us. We do have to go to break. When we come back, Paul Pukis will stick around along with the rest of our in-studio guests. We'll continue the discussion.